Hello.
Hello, everybody. My name is Courtney Clark. I am the board president for ArtsEd Washington, and I'd like to welcome you all to ArtsEd Washington's 2023-24 annual celebration. We are live in from 6 different locations, everyone. Ilwaca, Olympia, here in Seattle, West Seattle. We're facing just a little bit over the sound and the Space Needle, Spokane, Tacoma, Yakima, and Zoom. So I want to welcome you, you all for joining us. You're in for a special treat. And I will now move the presentation on to our executive director, who is dynamic, Miranda Hine.
Well, thank you, but I'm going to pass it immediately over to our fantastic vice president, Susan. Suzanne, baby.
Thank you. Thanks all. So we'd like just to take a moment to thank today's sponsors for the event. So first and foremost, thank you, Rachel Lake, who is an ArtsEd Washington ambassador. Also, Courtney Clark, we really appreciate you, our sparkling board president. Miranda Hine, killing it as executive director. Chris Blunt, our board treasurer, is also here. And then Nicole O'Connor, an ArtsEd Washington board member. My name is Susan. I'm manning the virtual event. So if you guys have any comments or questions, I'm here for you, okay? All right. We do, as a statewide entity, we'd also like to take a moment for land recognition. So as ArtsEd Washington serves the whole of Washington state, we acknowledge that we live, work, and learn on the traditional homelands of many Indigenous peoples. We recognize the complex histories and the cultures of the Native peoples who have stewarded these lands since time immemorial. And this acknowledgement is one of many steps that we take to honor the land that we occupy. We also encourage today's audience to pursue their own learning about Washington's land and history and to join us in fostering genuine relationships with the Indigenous communities that are still present in these regions today. So now I'm going to hand it off to Miranda so we can get this party started.
Right. Thank you. Okay. And is the camera coming? There we go. We have a moving camera here in Spokane. So we would like to make sure that we do say welcome throughout all of Washington. So we're going to do this in 2 ways. One, if you are in a location with other people face to face, we want to take a moment. Hosts, you'll mute your camera, or you'll mute your microphone, and maybe your cell phones too. Thank you for that timing reminder. Well timed. Did I mine? Let's double check. I'm not judging. See, it happens to the best of us. But we'll take a moment to turn and chat with the people who are around us, and then unmute the mics and come back online. And if you are via Zoom, we would love for you to drop in the chat. Who are you? What brings you here today? Maybe where are you zooming in from? And then at the end of the event, when we have more time for socializing, we will also have an option if anybody in the Zoom space would like to go into a breakout room with other people in particular. Our vice president, can set that up for you. So if we have like a whole bunch of people from Adams County, then we can make an Adams County breakout and y'all could go hang out there for a little while. So that'll be an option for us at the end, but we want to go ahead and start with some introductions right now. So drop it in the chat or mute and chat in person for just a few. How are we doing time-wise in our other spaces? Hosts, are we doing okay?
Everybody, let's paint the beautiful
hosts. Yes, good. Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're here at the Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture in Spokane, Washington. Thank you again for hosting and letting us have this fantastic space. And you might hear some noises in the space around it because they are in fact doing school tours here in the museum today. So that's pretty darn cool. All right. So hopefully that was a good welcome. There will be plenty of chances for you to contribute in the chat or to check in with us afterwards. So let's get going on to the rest of the presentation. So in addition to those of us who are here today, and we know that there are some who inevitably registered and couldn't make it, we will be attempting to put this recording on our YouTube channel. Did you know we have a YouTube channel? We do. We don't have a lot on there, but we have some key resources on there for when you need it. So in addition to those of us who are here, we want to record this for those who couldn't make it. And we also want to acknowledge the reason that we're here is Washington State also has 1 million, technically like 1.1 million students, 65,000 plus educators, 295 school districts, 2,000, oh goodness, it's small writing from where I'm standing. 2,393 public schools, 792 private schools, 16 public charter schools, and 6. Oh, I have someone that needs to mute themselves over there. And 6 state tribal compact schools. So when we talk about arts education, we are literally talking about all of these students. Now, the majority of what you're going to hear us talk about in our like day-to-day work is presently focused on public schools, which does in Washington State include public charters and state tribal compact schools. Even though we don't talk very much about private schools or about university programs or about early childhood, I also want to acknowledge that those are an important part of our education ecosystem. So we're not intentionally excluding any of those folks. We just are a surprisingly small organization for the amount of work that we complete. And so as we grow, we would love to be able to make some more space for intentionally supporting them. But if you are connected with early childhood, university, or private schools, our resources are free for you. You are always welcome to come join our events. You can download all kinds of helpful stuff off of our website. Email us with your questions. We're so happy to help. But most of our programming at this point in time is aimed at public schools, which in this last year has also been intentionally expanded to invite people representing our public charters and our state tribal compact schools as well. So that's who we're really here to support, is those students who we believe deserve arts access. And in Washington State, just to confirm this for anybody who might not realize, Washington State actually said that the arts are considered in 5 different disciplines that students can get credit for in Washington schools. You have an alphabetical order: dance, media arts, music, theater, and visual arts. Now, no surprise, not all schools have all 5 disciplines. That would be very costly and require a lot of personnel to have experts in all of those disciplines. But we really do believe that it's important for every school to at least have the option to access some combination of these instructors at any age, whether they're elementary, middle, or high school. So that is the bulk of our focus at ArtsEd Washington. All right. So now that we've established our bigger overarching goals, today's goals are going to be for us to connect with you, help you connect with each other, to celebrate what we can celebrate in arts education in Washington State, and to invite you with different ways to connect with each other or with us moving forward. So we're going to do those things in a few ways. So first, we want to share a little bit sprinkled throughout about the current state of arts education in Washington. Then we want to share with you some examples of our work over the last year, which our work tends to be focused in 3 primary big categories or big buckets. We focus some of our time on advocacy, which is directly meeting with decision makers at any level. We focus some of our time on training and curriculum, where we literally meet with students, administrators, teachers, and we actually talk with them about any of these things, and we educate them on what they can do or what we can do to support them and to support the arts in their schools. And then we focus on engagement because, like I already kind of alluded to, we believe we're part of this bigger education ecosystem, and we're also part of this bigger arts community ecosystem in Washington State. And so the power of connecting and engaging is really important to us. So especially as we are trying to expand more truly statewide, you'll see that we're trying to make more time for creating engagement opportunities in many, many different towns, as many as we can handle and as many as you all out there want to invite us to. We're looking to make those connections. So then we also, of course, are going to have to talk a little bit about donors and funders, partly because we appreciate them so much, and partly because we want to make sure that they or you or future donors and funders know a little bit about what your money goes to. And then we'll also introduce you a little bit more specifically to our leadership teams, past and future, present. And we'll talk a little bit about some upcoming opportunities. So that is what we have in store. Okay, first bucket, one of the main things that we spend our time doing, advocacy. Talking straight to legislators, talking straight to administrators, talking straight to school board members or superintendents. Anybody that is making decisions about schools and funding and arts and equity, chances are those topics all interweave in so many different combinations of ways that they're going to impact our students and their arts access. So we try to stay really up to date on all of the decision-making processes that are going around in our state and at the national level, so that we can then inform you all who care about arts education. Because honestly, I know when I was a teacher for many years, I did not have time to learn all of the advocacy stuff, to keep up to date on all of the different bills that were being proposed every year and which one's been voted down already and which one's still going and which one's been edited and what's the difference between the new version and the old version. And teachers especially, I know how much you want to advocate for your students and I know how busy you are. You do not have time to keep up on all of those daily revisions. And so we try really hard to do that for you and then to provide you with credible updates so that you can make the decisions yourself on how you want to advocate based on that knowledge. So here are some examples of what we've done this year. The very first, and let's see if this will go with me. Will it go with me? Oh, it is. The very first one that I want to point out, there's an organization, a collective impact organization with many different groups from throughout Washington State called Arts for All, A4A. It's been several years in the works. ArtsEd Washington is one of the groups that is working with Arts for All. And they were just here in Spokane, actually, 3 days ago, I guess, Tuesday, 4 days ago, working towards our next step in our collective advocacy. And it's nothing that's ready to officially take action on yet, but stay tuned because in the next 4 or 6 months, probably you'll be hearing a lot about Arts for All. And that's the group that we're talking about. So doing some of what we're doing with ArtsEd Washington, but on a much grander scale than what we could accomplish. Another example of advocacy, and hopefully you'll notice the theme, group bigger than just us, group bigger than just us, because we can't do it alone. You can't do the advocacy alone. We as an organization can't do the advocacy alone. So we partner with other groups. So this group was arranged by Inspire Washington. Every February, they designate a particular week as Arts, Heritage, and Science Week. And they arrange people from all over the state to come to Olympia, set up meetings with legislators, and talk about certain bills based on what you believe, what maybe our group values, and really try to be the voice so that the legislators know how to cast their votes or what to argue or what to consider when they're going into those decision-making conversations. So this was a picture of our group as a whole, and then there were 5 of us, I think, sprinkled in throughout. All right, something we did actually do pretty much as an individual organization this year, we do it every odd numbered year. We send out a survey to all of the school board candidates throughout Washington State, something like 1,400 of them sometimes, send out a survey asking them certain questions about arts education and how that would impact their leadership if they were to get elected to their local school board. And then we post all of those survey answers on our website. We don't tell you who to vote for. We're a 501c3, so we don't do that. But we want to make sure that you have the information and that we're respecting the time of our decision makers by making it collectively available so that they don't have to necessarily answer 1,200 emails from people. They can just answer ours, and then you can go to our website to get that answer. Of course, that means when election time comes, it's really beneficial if you share that with your friends who you think would care about voting for arts education and equity, because otherwise they might not know that that's available for them. So we do that every odd year, because odd numbered years are when in Washington State, when local school boards hold their elections. And local school boards are where a lot of the decisions are made about our schools. If you didn't know that, Washington is what we are called a local control state. So certain laws are in fact made at the state level. Some laws are then further refined by specially assigned organizations like OSPI, PESB, State Board of Education, but then a lot of decisions about how those laws are meant to be implemented are made at your school district level. So you advocating with your votes for your school board candidates, or you advocating by meeting with school board members actually makes a really big difference. So again, if we can give you some of that information, that can help you make a difference in your own town. And then along those lines, but on, again, a grander scale, what we can accomplish just alone currently right now, if you go to our website, I mean, maybe wait until we're done talking, but if you want to multitask, go for it. So on our website, you can actually access the arts education survey responses from 3 of the OSPI superintendent candidates. So we partnered with, again, Inspire Washington right here, as well as the Washington Music Educators Association, Visual Arts Educators Association, the WAEA, and the Washington Thespians, the Theater Teachers Association. And all 5 of our organizations crafted a survey that we sent to all 4 of the candidates running for OSPI superintendent. So superintendent is one of the top offices for educational decision-making and policy interpretation or explanation in Washington State. And we sent that survey. And so 3 of the candidates sent back to us their thoughts on arts education. And it is so cool to get to hear what they've had to say. Again, this is not where we tell you who to vote for, but we are giving you the survey so that you can read them and decide who you want to vote for, possibly in part based on their arts education responses. So big applause for Inspire Washington, Washington Thespians, WAEA, WMEA, and in general, our OSPI candidates for making this possible. I'm really excited to see how this possibly informs the upcoming election. All right, then with all of these things, we do like to hear what people involved in the process have to say about it, because advocacy especially can be a big, scary word. I know, again, me personally, when I was a teacher, I wanted so much to be able to make a difference for my kids, not just in my classroom, but in the system. And it's really intimidating. And it's really intimidating if you feel like you don't know what to say or your voice doesn't matter. And so in addition to advocating directly and teaching people also how to advocate, it's also really neat when we can collect feedback on what that experience was like. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer, Chris Blunt, who is coming to us from Tacoma. And he's going to read a couple of quotes that came to us about the advocacy process this year. And then I'll back and forth with him in our next couple slides. So every time we talk about what we're doing to help our community, then he's going to pipe in and show you what a couple of people who experienced it had to say about the process. All right, Chris, take it away.
Thank you so much. All right, so we got a couple great quotes here. We're going to go back and forth with the quotes. So this is one of the takeaways from our advocacy work. It says, "I never realized the amount of legislation that was affecting us in what real ways we can impact arts education in Washington. We have a lot of work ahead of us. And as someone who has been working on this issue for over 20 years, it feels like maybe now is a different time, and maybe we can finally make a difference." So that's a good one.
And 2 very different folks from the newer end of the advocacy life experience and the more experienced end of the range as well. So neat to hear what they have to say. Now, probably the largest part of what we do is actually focused on training and curriculum. Specifically this year, we had the capacity to really focus on one very specific set of trainings. So we focused on what was previously known as Senate Bill, or SB 5878. It is now 2 years ago, it was voted into law. It's no longer technically called SB 5878, but a lot of people still know it that way. So you will sometimes in the world of arts education hear people say that number and you're like, what are you talking about? This is it. It's now technically part of RCW, which is the Revised Code of Washington, basically the law, RCW 28A blah, blah, blah. So if you want all those details, you can go to our website and we have it all written out and explained for you. But the gist is, it's now a law. We already know, we already believe, probably anyone who's looking at this presentation today online, in the YouTube recording, or in one of our spaces, you hopefully already believe to some extent the arts matter. And you believe equity matters. And you believe that equity in arts in our schools matters. Some combination of that is really important. But now there's also a law that says it. And so it's important to be able to teach people what that law says so that they know how to navigate from that perspective of actual requirements in our state. And as we presented a lot and talked with people a lot, we also realized it's important for us, ArtsEd Washington, to be able to remind people, as much as we want to dig in and just say, but superintendent or school board or principal, you have to, because it's the law. I mean, yes, but the more you get to know about administration in schools, the more, at least for me, the more compassion I have for our administrators, because, oh my gosh, there's so much. It's so hard to stay on top of all the changing requirements and all the funding requirements and all the extra staff that sometimes they have to hire, or navigating high turnover with staff in recent years. There's a lot. And on top of that, some of them really do believe in arts education, but they honestly just don't know how to prioritize certain things with their budget. So they actually just need the support. And for those, there might be some administrators out there at any level that really don't value the arts. That's always possible. I'm not saying it no longer exists. I do think it's much less common in my conversations. I really feel like more and more people are starting to understand why conversations of equity and arts are so important to our schools and to our well-being as humans. But maybe in the rare case that there are some folks out there making decisions that just don't value the arts, I would dare say that just yelling at them, but it's the law, probably not mechanism. So it's important for us to be able to support the people who want to go out there and advocate, support them with a multitude of ways that they can make those arguments. Because if one argument doesn't work, we want to know what is another, maybe more persuasive route that we can take. So that was the main topic that we focused on this year with our trainings. Again, as we grow, it's possible that we might be able to take on multiple different topics. But for this year, this was a really important one because this law was just passed in 2022. But it only became reported on this last school year. So again, if you go to our website, you can actually download the report that shows all of Washington's schools having submitted their checklist of basic education requirements. Yes, we did meet the science requirement. No, we didn't. Yes, we met the since time immemorial requirement. No, we didn't. Yes, we met the arts requirement, or no, we didn't, right? Like they have to send that in every year. So you can access that. But it only became inclusive of the arts this year. So this is a very timely conversation for us to be having. I don't suspect it's over. We're going to continue discussing for a while, I'm sure. But here are some of the ways that we focused on that in our programming. I hope, does that give everybody enough of an understanding of it too? I want to make sure again that you are also coming away from here with a better understanding of the situation of arts in Washington, right? Okay, so there you go. That's our big summary for what we took the whole year to focus on. We focused a lot on conversations and trainings with arts educators and administrators. So we surveyed about over 130 surveyed or 130 educators. The first one that we submitted or that we collected was 122 people responded. And then over time, we collected feedback from them as well. So overall, probably 130 plus different users. We presented to over 100 different educators throughout the state. That included also teaching artists and administrators. We had 2 open Zoom presentations. So again, open, no cost to the people wanting to participate, and available to anyone across the state, because we understand, especially if you're in a corner of the state where it takes hours and hours to get somewhere, hosting something in Spokane or in Olympia or in Seattle might not always work with your schedule or your finances to travel there for days. So made some of those open on Zoom. We also spoke at 2 of the conferences for those big art education associations that we talked about earlier. And we held numerous roundtables, which is to say we met in small groups with administrators or other teachers to talk in more depth about the conversation. Those slide decks, if it was a presentation that had an official slide deck as opposed to a roundtable, then those are available on our website now. So if you wanted, you could go just download the slide deck. The ones that were permissible to record and publish the conversation, those are also available on our YouTube channel. So you could also go there if you wanted to just like listen and follow along. So those are there for you in for reference as well. Then this was probably one of the highlights, at least of me, my personal year. We did 2 presentation sessions for students at the Washington Thespian State Conference, or the festival for the student theater competitors. And at that one, we did what was a new iteration of what we've traditionally called Artivism 101. So we have this curriculum that ArtsEd Washington has done for decades. And it really gets to the heart of, here's what you need to know about schools, here's what you need to know about advocating, here's what you need to know about why the arts matter and what we know about specifically the impact of the arts in schools. So that's our Artivism training. We took that, we revised it for this 5878 concept, and then we revised it to make it super student friendly and action oriented, and we converted it into a postcard writing workshop. So over the course of the day, well, the morning, these students wrote little ideas down, and at the end, they basically had the puzzle pieces for a postcard. And when it was all said and done, they had talked through reasons for arts education being important, the requirements, what advocacy in general means, what actions they could take or what actions they wanted their school making decision makers. I thought that very strange. School decision makers to make. And at the end of it, we sent off, or at least the Thespians leaders sent off probably over 1,100 postcards to people in Washington State. Some combination, and the students got to choose as a part of this conference session. Students got to choose. Did they want to write to the principal, to their school board members, their superintendent, to their own music teacher, to a local dance coach? I do honestly believe one student even wrote to the president of the United States. So TBD on what impact that has. But honestly, seriously, dream big. But it was really, really touching. And if you're interested and you want to dig around either on our website or on, I think, our Instagram page, you can actually find a few examples of these postcards with the names and the identifying information blacked out. But the content of what these students wrote just still gives me goosebumps to see the impact arts are having in their lives, and to either hear them saying, I'm writing this to tell you thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing that. Or the flip, to hear them saying, I'm writing to ask, please, why don't you do this? Why can't we have this? It's just, I mean, quite literally, I still get goosebumps right now. So that was another bulk of what we did relating to this 5878 current arts requirements topic. And after all of this, we realized that some of this material did in fact need to be publicly available. So most of it you can find on our website in sort of downloadable toolkit. There's a frequently asked question page with all of the arts requirements you could probably ever want to know about, at least the current ones. There is a flyer, and we have a few copies here out on our table, and I believe all of our other posts have some too. Little tall, thin columnar flyers that talk about the Washington arts requirements of 5878. And then we also have letter templates you can just literally download and revise what's written there and send it to either your school board or the State Board of Education. And then we also have just links to other national or statewide arts organizations with really good research that could be helpful for you to know when you're having these conversations. So lots of things that you could access on our website. It's just kind of like neatly there for you. And of course, we aim to continue providing updated versions of these things as we move through the year too. So with all of that said, you can imagine there were so many incredible quotes to choose from. It was really, really hard, but we do have two that we want to share with you. So back to you, Chris.
Thank you so much, Miranda, and thank you so much for breaking that all down. It's been great and inspirational as well. So here's a couple more takeaways. So we have another quote. It says, "We matter and we need to have our voices heard," which is also absolutely valid. Also,
Yep.
confidence and an understanding of our community and how we have to work together and fight for what we love. And that is pretty on point when it comes to arts and education in schools. Thank you.
Thank you for reading, Chris. Okay, so this next one is also pretty exciting. As I mentioned, community engagement is super important to us, and we have done that in a few kind of interesting ways this year. The first one, if you look at the image, it kind of appears to be a cell phone. You'll notice inside is a screenshot of what we're calling our ArtsEd Spotlight. This is a new virtual recognition option that we created this year, just simply to be a vessel for people across the state who wanted to tell us and then wanted us to tell everybody about programs in their local school area that they know that are doing awesome things. That are doing things that are great, but maybe not in the way that has already earned tons of trophies, won at solo and ensemble, won national arts awards, won dance competitions. And so this description, if you go into the actual form and look at it, it talks about, this is recognizing people who are creating community through the arts. This is people who are redefining what success means. This is maybe a community organization that partners with your school to supply arts education when your school hasn't been able to afford it. Maybe at your elementary doesn't provide visual art. And so you have some really great docents that come in and help out. Sure, it'd be great if starting next year, they could just already have a hired certificated teacher and all the kids would get to go to a traditional art class. But you know what? That might not happen yet. We'll work on it. We might still want to recognize that docent program because that's pretty awesome that those people are providing that. Or maybe it's two schools. Here, I was always really proud. We kind of grew in a relationship over time with a nearby high school. So Shadle and Rogers, we ended up creating what we called #Team Wealth, because both high schools are on Wealthy. And so sometimes our dance programs would ride to competitions together. Eventually the choirs ended up doing a joint concert together. The DECA programs ended up doing some business competitions together. So it kind of evolved into a community thing. And so you'll notice we haven't nominated that for this, but that's just an example of something that I think is a really neat outcome that's probably happening in a lot of other communities, but we just don't always have a place to share those. So our spotlight is one of those places. We do have it on pause for summer, but you can still look it up and then submit whatever interesting, maybe it's an extra supportive principal that you really want to appreciate for all that they've done above and beyond for your arts program at your school. Maybe it's your media arts teacher who found a way to work with your visual arts teacher to do some really cool, I don't know, 3D big project together. So think outside the box is kind of the nature of this. And then let's make sure that we're recognizing that too, because I think that's part of the sometimes intangible benefit that the arts bring to our students. And we wanted to be able to give just a voice to that. So our ArtsEd Spotlight is that. And then in a moment, we'll have this video play, which will show you a recording. We did not make this recording. This was from OSPI. So again, the State Superintendent Office. OSPI holds an annual visual art contest every year. This was our 51st year holding this, and this year it was all virtual. And many different organizations get to sift through regional winners and choose what their organization wants to recognize as a winner. And so ArtsEd Washington has been so thankful for many years to be able to participate in this decision-making process and to recognize one winner that then for the next year is our chosen winner and receives a $200 scholarship from us. And so that is what you're about to see from the recording of the event that just happened this May.
High school art show is 51 years old. Its history has benefited from the support of many organizations who value arts education. We appreciate their support and participation.
Each participating organization selects a piece of student artwork and presents an award to the student artist selected.
Each statewide winner is honored with $200 monetary awards from the participating art organization and will also receive a glass art trophy along with a certificate of recognition from the OSPI.
The next set of awards are from organizations whose primary focus is on arts and culture: ArtsEd Washington, Centrum, and Inspire Washington.
Hello, my name is Miranda Lee Hine, and I'm the Executive Director for ArtsEd Washington. Our team was impressed with all of this year's pieces, and we are especially excited to recognize one piece which might look like a photo at first, but is in fact colored pencil. I would like to applaud Yoselin Sanchez from Kelso High School for the vivid creation of OXO.
Hi, I'm Yoselin Sanchez, and I'm a senior at Kelso High School. I've been in the art program for 4 years and honors for the past 2 years. I love working with color and detail. My piece also was inspired by a favorite summer memory. This is a picture of my sister and I at a OXO gas station in Puerto Vallarta. Art is important to me because I'm an introverted person and I'm not very vocal, but using art I can express myself and show others how I see the world.
This artist created an eye-catching visual. They showed a lot of vision and skill through a skewed fishbowl lens with bold colors, subtle shadows, and striking highlights. One board member said, "This piece slays creativity, composition, and technique."
Yes, round of applause. And folks, I don't know if the other locations are applauding too, but we are. That's fantastic. Yeah, honestly, a great collection of artists throughout our state. If you're listening to this and thinking, oh, that's interesting, I don't know if my region does it. It's accessible to everybody across the state. It might just be that your school hasn't particularly pushed it yet. So go ahead and just connect with someone in your school and make sure, hey, are your high school artists submitting for this? Because this is a cool opportunity for them. So there you go. Then another way that we really focused on engagement this year was by bringing together many of these different organizations. We've already talked about the WAEA, WMEA, at Thespians, or Washington Thespians, Inspire Washington. There's ArtsWA, or the Washington State Arts Commission, and several others that we've been connecting with. And over the year, we got some really good feedback from them. And in some cases, created some really neat opportunities together, like the OSPI Superintendent Survey, or Superintendent Candidate Survey. And so in April, we actually brought all of them together and kind of chatted virtually. And as a result of that, we ended up with this entire tablet, and some of it's a little cut off, but you can see the gist of it. Every single person or every organization that was represented contributed by sharing these thoughts and these ideas about what might come next, and these ideas about what we've accomplished together or how our missions overlap. And so I think we're really poised to move forward with some of these relationships. And even if we obviously don't all have the exact same mission, if we did, there wouldn't be a reason for all of us to exist. But we all have overlapping missions. And so where we can connect, we're looking at how we can enhance each other's work. So from that, we really got a lot of insight and inspiration to move forward. So stay tuned for what comes of this. And then one other quote that was not on this particular event, but on another event, I think just did a really especially great job of summarizing one of the biggest points of clarity and impact that we were able to engage in this year. So on to the last shared quote of the day.
All right, everybody. This is a wonderful step, becoming the hub for all of art disciplines to gather and plan advocacy together. As a large team, ArtsY is performing a powerful service to the arts and all of our students. I feel like this is what the organization was always meant to be doing, and I'm so happy with this newly concentrated direction.
I think it really has been neat to see that coming out of all of the changes brought by the pandemic, it's really forced us to just re-envision how do we navigate in this new space. So that quote was especially encouraging to see. Back to you, Chris, sorry.
No worries, no worries. So yeah, honestly we've dealt with a lot of changes and a lot of transition. So I want to thank everybody, and we couldn't have done it without the board, the ambassadors, the staff, the contractors, and the donors. We all worked together to make sure that we ensured that this was another successful year. So I want to thank everybody who contributed to our mission, vision, and values for the 2024 season. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely right. And part of that, as I sort of alluded to earlier, we're a surprisingly small team, considering all that we've been doing and our ambition for wanting to become more truly statewide. Through the last few years of the pandemic, we were an entirely volunteer-run organization. Entirely volunteer-run, advocating for arts for the entire state as best we could. We had some incredibly dedicated volunteers, specifically some very dedicated board members that really got us through. At this point, we are wanting to be able to take that foundation that they helped us solidify, and we're wanting to build on it. So we started tracking our volunteer data this January, and I have a strong suspicion that this isn't even all the people that have been volunteering with us, but even as so, this is still a pretty impressive way to view the types of work that we've been doing. Our ArtsEd logo ended up right in the middle. Don't remember how that got there, but we're just really proud of that pie chart, I guess. Overall, for just January through June, we logged 222.5 volunteer hours. Again, I know this is not everybody. P.S. If you're a board member or an ambassador or volunteer this year, we want to work really, really hard to make sure you log your hours every month. Okay. But something cool that came of this is we also started logging what counties the hours were either done in or done on behalf of. So like if you're doing a virtual volunteer project for us, but you yourself are in Benton County, you might actually be, using examples from Benton County or taking it and using it to survey teachers in Benton County. And so we want to be able to log that as a service to your region. So the counties that we were able to contribute to this year, or at least that were submitted for us to log: King County, Clark, Thurston, Spokane, Grant, Yakima, Kittitas, Chelan, Snohomish, and then some different combinations of all those things. So pretty cool work. We're really, really getting there. With all that said, we also know, especially coming out of the last few very difficult years, students have had a lot of stress. Teachers and administrators have had a lot more stress than ever. Even community members not directly involved in the schools have had a lot to go through. I think we're recognizing that a lot of us are maybe less resilient than we were, or maybe we're just doing a better job of upholding our own boundaries, which maybe we didn't do as good of a job of setting our own clear boundaries. Before 2020, maybe we thought we could just say yes to everything. And now we're realizing, oh no, for my own well-being, I should not. And that's okay. So we really, really want to be respecting the hours that our volunteers, our board members, our ambassadors are available to contribute. And we want to be able to increase our reach at the same time. So I do think that really is going to come only if, moving forward, if we can continue recruiting more volunteers rather than expecting the volunteers we have to do more. And it's going to honestly come also with us being able to secure more long-term scalable fundraising as well, because we can't keep expecting our volunteers to do such a heavy lift. We're thankful for the ones that have, but we want to be really, really supportive and thankful without adding unnecessary demands onto them. Just because you care about arts education doesn't mean that you have to work for it until it drains you of your own well-being. So that's also something I'm taking away from this conversation of volunteers this year. And with that, would you tell us a little bit more about?
Yeah, I'd actually like to share a special round of applause and our sincerest gratitude to our donors and funders just for making this year possible. So we wanted to give a special thank you to the Arts Fund, to the Tulalip Tribes, to For Culture, the Office of Arts and Culture, ArtsWA, and the National Endowment for the Arts. We literally could not be doing this important work without you.
And our individual funders as well. So honestly, I don't know if, depending on where you all are, or if you're watching this on YouTube, if you just want to pause for yourself or pat yourself on the back, but really, those donations make a huge difference.
It does. So your funding and donations actually have a direct impact on our ability to provide for communities across Washington state. Specifically, your contributions allow us to invest in school visits, which gives us the chance to listen to students, educators, and administrators and support their needs. It actually helps us build partnerships throughout Washington, supporting our state and national partner organizations through our dues, conferences, and registrations. It allows us to provide resources for staff, interns, contractors, and volunteers in all three of our primary programming areas: the advocacy and voter information, our training and curriculum, and community engagement. And finally, you've allowed us to rebuild in this post-COVID world, allowing us to modernize our internal operations, to collect and analyze statewide data, and to work towards industry standards in pay and benefits for our employees and our contractors. Doing this is so crucial to increasing the consistency and the longevity of our leadership and programs. So thank you for your contributions. With your help, we can continue to focus on ensuring our students and educators thrive. We are accepting donations on our website if you're moved to support arts education in Washington state. And Miranda is now going to review our board and ambassadors.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, on top of all of that and what we've accomplished so far, I'm really maybe more excited than ever to announce our next round of board members and ambassadors. All together, we have 10 different counties represented here, which is really excited. I'm pretty sure, at least in all the records I could find, I'm pretty sure this is the most geographically representative collection of volunteer leaders, mind you, but of leaders that we've probably ever had. So our board members are people who volunteer their time and expertise to oversee the cycle implementation of our mission on an organizational level. So they help us manage maintain that our budget is in fact being used in ways that specifically promote our mission. Anything else having to do with our bylaws, and really big direction moving decisions. Those are our board members. So those people are Amanda Jackson Mott from Okanagan County, Amber Lee Jowers from King County, Chris Blunt from Pierce County.
I think we've lost Miranda for just a second.
Oh no.
It looks like she's jumped off and they're getting ready to come back.
Yeah, that's what I figured. All right, I think she's logging back on.
And we're back. We see you. Yay.
All right. So I was telling our folks here, you know, this is going to be
Pierce County was the last thing we heard.
What was the last thing?
Chris in Pierce County.
Oh, goodness. That's a long time ago. All right. Well, I was telling them, I'm sure my board members are awesome and they're going to keep it going. So thank you for making that work. Did y'all read the rest of the list, or where should we jump in?
I think we can move to the next slide.
Yeah. Okay, a quick note though, I want to say thank you also ambassadors. Board members and ambassadors are gonna be quite different. So ambassadors are the ones that are really already most likely very embedded in their local arts community or their local education community. So we're gonna be asking them every month, every other month, to update us, what's going on in your region, so that we can really hear and understand what's going on across our state. And we will be accepting ambassador applications again in the next couple months. Board members, we're planning to only have applications open for those each spring. But ambassadors, we have a little bit more flexibility with. So if you are interested in applying for ambassadors, stay tuned. That might open up again in a couple months. Okay, thank you. Next, a big announcement before we wrap up for the day. So, quick question. How many of you already knew about our project called Stay Inside the Lines Seattle? Oh, good. My husband did. If you did already know about it, and if you're in the Zoom, you are welcome to drop a little note about that too. Or I think, unless he got kicked off also, I think our ambassador Galen, I saw him logged in. He might even be able to drop a link into the chat. And then people who are on Zoom, you will be the very first ones to have access to the website with this information. So in 2020, Galen Driver from Seattle had this idea that there was going to be a lot of lacking connection and creativity because we were all shut inside our houses for so long. So he collected very cool, varied coloring book pages from Seattle artists and assembled them into this coloring book. Now, he partnered with ArtsEd Washington for the sale of this book. So for every book that was sold, we also donated one book to a Title I school. And we also offered the option for people to donate money to a special set aside fund we called Color for the Arts Fund. So in addition to the hundreds of books that we were able to ship at that time, we also collected $5,000 that we then were able to connect with different schools. And if there was a school who had maybe a teacher that wanted to be more artistic in their classroom, especially like if their school didn't offer visual art or media art and they needed some supplies, we donated that money straight to them. So we ran a second round of this Stay Inside the Lines Seattle this fall. There are still a couple prints of this available that you could buy. But the exciting announcement, we are officially expanding to now be Stay Inside the Lines Washington.
Yeah.
So with Galen's help, we are putting up, it's already up there, but like I said, y'all on Zoom are gonna get access to it first probably. And then it'll be available, linked to on our website, or if you do a general Google search, you could probably find it. Where you could, if you are an artist, if you know an artist out there, I should specify an artist that likes to create visual art, not just all of the other fantastic arts as well. If you have a black and white or straight black and negative space that you would like to submit, there's a portal on Galen's webpage called Stay Inside the Lines Washington, where you could submit your artwork. Now, first of all, that artwork might be included in our upcoming publication. At the very least, there's a strong likelihood that we would also end up publishing it on the website this fall. So all of the submissions that were approved for just general publication, even if they didn't make it into the book, they're also available for people to just download and print because you love it. And I'm seeing someone move something on the screen and I don't know what that's about. But the premise is the same. We would like to collect from Washington State artists, from local artists. You submit your artwork on the portal. You say who you are, what city you're from. The directions are on there, like what format you need to upload it as. We are collecting the artwork through the month of August. We will make the decisions then about which ones go into the book and which ones get published on the website for free download. Then the other super exciting thing, we have not been able to offer internships for students in quite a while, and we are going to be offering 3 of them now to help us with this coloring book project. So when we say students, I'm going to use a fairly expansive definition, specifically what we're thinking. Any student in high school, college level, or recent graduate, and be judicious with how you define recent, that is interested in the things that matter to ArtsEd Washington. So if you are an art student who is dedicated to working in the arts or in education or in nonprofit or in equity, and you think that working on this project would benefit your progress towards your career, then we would love for you to apply for those internships. And those internship applications are also available on the website for Stay Inside the Lines Washington. So if you go to the website, it'll literally give you the overview. It'll say download your artwork here, and then scroll down, and it'll also show you where you can upload your application. We are thinking, and there's more descriptions on the website, but we're thinking we would like someone as an intern to help us actually put the book together. So designing, assembling, figuring out what needs to go where and what sizing, and if there's any adjusting, like vectorizing of the images, then person that does that. Another person that would do more like the marketing and social media maybe. And another person, a third intern that would help us with the project management of it. So actually helping us figure out our schedule. We need to announce the release on these dates. We need to push the advertising on these dates. We need to get this into the publishers on these dates. By the way, I'm going to research the publishers and find out how much things cost and what does that do to our profits, and not really profits, but you know, all of those things that go into it. So we are looking for 3 interns to help us with those projects. We anticipate that those internships will start sometime in August, depending on how quickly we start getting applications, and probably go through, I would say, the end of December. And not only will there be a small stipend at the end, a couple $100, but the 2 people that will be working most closely with you in terms of mentoring you and helping you make the decisions before letting you work independently on some portions of them would be me. So with the background, arts, education, nonprofit, and our ambassador, Galen, who is the one that started this project 4 years ago. He is also a senior creative lead at Amazon. So lots of business experience and marketing understanding from that person to help you in terms of mentorship, a really valuable experience. So 2 exciting announcements with this one. And actually, let's scroll to the next image or the next screen. And just as a super cool visual for you, the last time that this happened, King 5 featured it in news articles. They ran videos on their news station. There were all kinds of active participants online. People would submit their colored pages and tag us in it. I mean, it was really a neat opportunity. And I think if we could get something like this going all across the state, it could also be a really awesome way to connect artists from communities that might never have heard of each other, right? So again, if you are an artist and you are interested in submitting your artwork, search for Stay Inside the Lines Washington. If you're interested in submitting an application for that internship, you can get it again from Stay Inside the Lines Washington. We will start publishing the direct link to access that very shortly after I leave here today. Or you can search for it and find it on the Stay Inside the Lines Washington webpage. And just as a cheeky little note to the progress that we've all made, including as individuals, as a society, and as ArtsEd Washington, in the last couple of, 4 years since 2020, even though this was originally called Stay Inside the Lines as a homage to the fact that we're staying inside our houses and being safe and coloring inside the lines and all, we are also bringing with this publication a modernization of our catchphrase, and now saying color within the lines, but think beyond. Because the arts matter in ways that a lot of people don't think of if you're only thinking inside the box. So think creatively. Think about things that maybe people have not thought of before. So we hope that this is an exciting opportunity for our artists, for our potential interns. And then definitely stay tuned because we will be aiming to open up the purchasing option for this later this fall, so that if you want to give them away as holiday gifts this winter, they'll be ready to go, get shipped to you anywhere by this fall. So that is our big exciting announcement for right now. Next slide. This little logo that you'll probably see on some of our stuff is a reminder of different ways to frequently connect us. We have a LinkedIn page, we have an Instagram page, a Facebook page, and this little QR code is what you would scan if you want easy access to our website. As a reminder, in any of these places, you can probably go there to submit your artwork, to buy a Washington-wide coloring book when the time comes, to collaborate, to learn, maybe to sign up to lead with us. You can also visit our website or sign up for our newsletter or any of these places on social media. And last but not least, one more slide. We really do want to say thank you and make sure that we leave time for you to connect. If you are in the chat, go ahead and just drop your chat or drop your message. What struck you about today? Did you get to meet anyone interesting? Did you hear anything interesting? Are you looking forward to something moving forward? And do you want to get into a Zoom room and connect with any other participants? And then if you're in an in-person site, let us chat. Same questions. What stood out to you? What was interesting? What was exciting? How are you feeling? We know schools are dealing with a budget crisis right now. And there's a bill in the federal government right now dealing with arts education, but you can learn about all of that stuff if you follow us on our website or social media. So hopefully you are still feeling somewhat empowered, and like we do actually have quite a lot to celebrate. So let's make some time for you to connect in your local spaces or in the Zoom chat. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of our donors and funders and for the people that donated food and donated spaces. We're really excited that we were able to share this with you today.